There are loads of ways of playing 40k. If you want to play match play, GW will be providing the chapter approved mission cards in the Leviathan box. These are a merge of the match play dynamics we're familiar with in 9th and the Tempest of War deck, also from 9th. This gives more flexibility, more pick up and play options, and removes the faction specific secondaries that were so difficult to balance in 9th. As a basic breakdown of how to use the new game cards, you pick your cards to randomise your deployment, mission rule and primary objective. The deployment layout speaks for itself. The mission rule is a special rule to mix things up. Chilling Rain is there, which means no additional rules. And the primary mission card explains how you score points each turn and potentially modifies the deployment and objective setup. Then each player picks secondary missions, and there are two flavours of this. Either pick 2 fixed secondaries or choose tactical secondaries. The tactical ones are a bit like Tempest of War. You pick 3 and drop 1 per turn. This requires changing your gameplay each turn to get your points, so if your army is built to handle this, then it's going to work best. And then there's a Gambit, a crazy special way to get points, and I'll come to that later. There will be a GT pack, and this is for the competitive scene, and bundles the deployment rule and primary objectives together, a bit like we had in 9th edition competitive seasons. And some other things of note. There's no deep strike in turn 1. This is different from the core rules. Reserves were turn 2 anyway, and now deep strike is also turn 2. But this is what we're used to. The second player scores points on turn 5 at the end of their turn. Objective and deployment zones are measured from the middle of the board, so size doesn't really matter. Primary points can be up to 50 of your total points value, secondary is up to 40, and then painting is your last 10 points. The cards contain enough copies for 2 players to play with 1 deck. Although actions don't exist in the core rules, they are back for primary missions. If you're able to shoot and not battle shocks, then instead of shooting, you can do an action. Interestingly, aircraft can do these actions now as well. Killing units with attached characters counts as 2 units. There are 9 primary missions, and things are very familiar but also different. I won't go through them all, but I'll highlight a couple just to show what they're like. Take and hold, you get your points just for holding objectives. Purge the foe, hold 1 and hold more to score points. Extra points for killing and killing more. And Sight of Power, points for holding objectives again, and in this one you get extra points for holding them with characters. The rest I'll leave on screen so you can see, so feel free to pause. There are 12 mission rules. I won't go through these either, but I'll highlight a couple of interesting ones. Chilling Rain, this is the one where there are no additional rules. Sweep and Clear, you get sticky objectives. And Chosen Battlefield, that's player-placed objectives. And then in the secondary missions, there are 16 in total. You can either pick 2 fixed secondaries for the whole game or play the tactical game and have to draw secondaries each turn. Fixed secondaries can score fewer points than they would if they were in the tactical version. You can build a list for fixed secondaries. Tactical, you have to be a bit more dynamic. So the fixed ones that you have for the whole game, there are only 7 available. I'll show the details on screen but won't go through them all. They've all seemed very familiar if you've played tournament play before. Things like behind enemy lines, 1 or more of your units in your opponent's deployment zone, assassinate, kill characters, bring it down, kill monsters and vehicles. Then for the tactical way of playing, when you select your missions per turn, you can discard a card for 1 CP. We had this in Tempest of War, but this is only once per battle. At the end of your turn, you can discard a card anyway, and by doing so you get a CP. There are 9 additional secondaries on top of the 7 fixed ones. So things like investigate signals, actions and table corners, no prisoners, points for killing units, and extend battle lines, hold your home objective and 1 in no man's land. And then we get to the Gambit. At the end of the 3rd battle round, you can trade the primary mission for a Gambit instead. You announce the Gambit at the start of your turn 4, so your opponent has the chance to interact and stop you. You can choose to proceed as planned, which means you're not attempting a Gambit, and you just continue working on the primary missions. Taking a Gambit means you can't score any more primary mission points, but you keep what you have scored so far. Instead, you work to achieve what's on the card for 30 points. This is certainly something you could try when you're really far behind. There are 3 Gambits, you randomly discard 1, and then you can pick one of the 2 remaining. Only orbital strike coordinate seems doable in my opinion. The other 2 are weird and complicated, so I will show you them, and you can pause. At the end of your 5th turn, if 1 or more of your units within 9 inches of a corner that isn't your deployment zone, you roll 2d6 and add 1 for each corner that you're in. And on a 12+, you get 30 points. The best odds you're going to get is by rolling a 9 to get your 30 points. It does imply you've still got units left to get to the corners, and that your opponent won't just kill them, because they know what you're trying to do. But that's the point of a Gambit. I'm not going to go through the other Gambit options. They are pretty weird, and I doubt they'll ever work. However, it's a fun option you can try. Overall, these cards look really cool. I've always enjoyed playing Open War deck and the Tempest of War as well, and this is exactly what the game needs. I hope this helped, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.